Hi everyone, Anthony Cummins here. Right, a little bit of an ad hoc video. Do you think the samurai should care about warfare? Now, this video has been created because I was watching a blog the other day of a gentleman in Japan. I won't mention the blog just simply because I don't want to cause any trouble. But it just struck me when I was watching it. I was like, and then it's been about a day and a half, and I was like, don't say anything, Anthony. Don't say anything. No, right, I've got to say something. So, this video is not to start trouble. But basically, in this blog, the gentleman in Japan said, you know, recently people have been pushing samurai towards war and warfare. I think he means me, but whether he does or he doesn't, it doesn't matter. And you know, and he's saying that's not really the way it should be looked at, and I'm like, that is absolutely the way it should be looked at. I'm sorry. So what it was is, I've got a quote here. Now it's from the Book of Samurai, so of course we published this, but one of my aims in life is to correct the ninja and the samurai, and the samurai are not as incorrect as the ninja in the public image, but there's definitely some problems. I want to read a quote from Book of Samurai. So you ready? This is sorry, just let my computer go. This is knowing that there's no change between the norm and departing for war. It says, people consider war to be very different from normal times, and there are many tales of upheaval and various ways that life changes. However, nothing should differ from normal times. For those who are determined and prepared, should there be any change when going to war, they are called soldiers and bushi, because that means warriors, because there is no difference for them between these two situations. Now this is the bit that I'm going for. In the worst case, some people may even venture the opinion that warfare is not the path of the samurai. Keep in mind, be it times of peace or times of war, samurai should prepare for war and not forget Heido, the way of the samurai. Now there are a few more quotes, but basically what you find is that the samurai go to war between their first incarnation up until 1600s. There's a little bit after that, but on the whole it finishes around 1600. And then you get a generation of people who wish they could go to the war, or wish they could go back, or in that like the people post World War II were, when they were like, you know, where's our war? We are not heroes. So you get this, you know, glorification of war. But then, as time goes on, and very quickly actually, from the research we've done, that the samurai tend to drop out of liking warfare. So when the gentleman said this, it was like, yeah, the way of the samurai later became away from war, but that's not the way of the samurai. That was like the way of the bureaucrat when they became bureaucrats. So the Book of Samurai was written in 1670s, somewhere like that, and this guy is saying that even then people are even samurai were starting to say, maybe the way of war is not for samurais, and he's like, no, just hold it there, it's all about warfare. If you don't think the samurai are about warfare, then ask yourself, are you in a dojo and are you holding a 3-foot piece of steel blade slashing it around? Now a lot of people will reply with this with, oh, you know, it's about perfecting the character. No, it's not. It's about cutting people's heads off, cutting their legs off, slicing their femoral artery and things like that. That's what swordsmanship does. It's not an enlightened tool. But Zen or enlightenment or Buddhism or the way, if you like, can be taken through almost anything, be it tea ceremony, painting, drawing, walking. There are lots of different ways of meditation. So later, when the samurai had not much to do, they started to change it into sort of meditative thing. So this idea of watching people in a dojo beautifully draw a sword and then make some lovely cuts is very, very far away from the reality of 1500s samurai. And when you think of samurai, you're thinking of the 1500s without doubt. Unless you're a samurai scholar and you're like, oh, I think I'll go to sort of like the period before, or I'll go to the time of peace. In the public's eye, in their image, they're thinking of 1500s, Oda Nobunaga, Takeda Shingen, Toyotomi Hideyoshi and Tokugawa Ieyasu, and some of it is maybe from the Taiheki and the Heiki Monogatari. They're mixed in sometimes, but on the whole you're thinking of samurai at war. So I find it really strange that people who are studying samurai ways and are out there in Japan really like studying and going, yeah, this is the way of the samurai, have not grasped that the samurai is purely about warfare. It is about warfare. Now, who do we trust? Do we trust the modern masters of Koryu who are not samurai? They're the same as me and you, modern, up-to-date, you know, civilized people? Or do we trust real samurai who are just outside of the warring periods, trying to capture their, you know, the warring periods for what it was? And that was a long time, it was hundreds of years. And even in peace, a samurai's job is to prepare for war. This is what they say. You can even go to Hagakure and be like, oh, you know, the samurai is found in the way of death, and which is a sentence that has been very much overused. But the point there is like loyalty for your master. Your master serves, you know, the shogun, but that's only because in times of peace. In actuality, samurai are like, I want that piece of land over there, and I want you guys, my samurai, to go get it for me. That's what samurai do. They land grab, and they accumulate more wealth, and they enjoy a military dictatorship. That's what they do. They did that for probably about 800 years. They were sort of in charge, with a slow change at the beginning and then a fast end at the last bit. So guys, I just want you guys to be clear that when people start saying things like samurai is not about war and all this head taking and all this, then they don't know what samurai is about. They have no clue then what samurai is about. I'm not saying that, gentlemen. I'm just saying people who come out are like, no, you want to study samurai, you got to study beheading, strategy and tactics, burning, arson, sort of burning on retreat, ship warfare, bloodlust. You've got to just, you know, manipulation of people. The arts of the samurai are not stood in a dojo flashing your sword around and putting it away and then go to McDonald's afterwards or going for tea afterwards. That's not the way of the samurai. That is a modern interpretation of what samurai used to do. Now, don't get me wrong, samurai are not like just going around hacking people to death. That would be a bandit. Bandits generally kill anyone for any reason. The point of a samurai would be that they are a trained military person who are experts in warfare, including swordsmanship and spearsmanship, and what they do is they control that ability until their lord wants to take some land or go and kill these people over there, and he'll label them a target, and a declaration is given, and their samurai will respond, and then you go to war. It's not about, guys, I'm sorry, but it's not about Zen. Samurai warfare is not about Zen. It's about killing, it's about capture, it's about destruction. And the idea of mixing samurai ways with the idea of enlightenment is a much, much later idea. I'm not saying that the samurai didn't look for enlightenment. Of course they did. They looked for it, but not in place of warfare. Warfare is first. There is no point having an enlightened bunch of samurai walking on a field of battle who want to pray their way through the enemy. It's ridiculous. It's just stupid. So what you've got is you've got samurai who want to kill the enemy. And one thing he does say in this, which I found really shocking, is he said, forgiveness is for the way of Buddhists. We are samurai. You don't forgive. You take your revenge. Once something has been done against you, your honour is at stake. You kill that opponent. But you've got to be very careful you decide to do it. So guys, it was just a quick video I wanted to ad hoc with, and if you don't believe me, then basically let's look at some of the things in history. How about the Battle of Sekigahara, where about 100,000 people died, or you know, there was a couple of 100,000 people on the battlefield, they reckon, and a ridiculous amount died and some fled. There's the Korean campaign, which if I remember it off rightly, that you're talking about 250,000 people involved with it, with 100,000 dead maybe or more. You've got piles of heads, carcasses, corpses, and this is Tokugawa Ieyasu killing pretty much his way across Japan and, you know, making sure he controlled it all. He actually just killed another person's family because of it. It's always my favourite one, that, you know, samurai loyalty is only fine as long as you don't have power to overthrow the lord. Once you have power to overthrow your lord, that loyalty pretty much goes out the window. So if you really want to know about samurai, it's not the way of Zen. That is the way of the priest. If you want to be enlightened, if you want to follow enlightenment and be this enlightened person, you need to find a priest, not a samurai instructor. Or if you are going down the, you know, Iaido route, and remember we've got things like Aikido now and Iaido and Karate Do. They're all things that are Japanese in the sense that, you know, we associate them with samurai. They're nothing to do with samurai most of the time, and it's a transition between the end of the samurai period and into the modern era and post World War II, when they became very peace loving and all that, and there's a different way the Japanese look at themselves. So you have to be very, very careful, guys, if you're going into samurai study. Predominantly it's about killing, it's about warfare, and you have to temper that with Zen and understanding, you know, Buddhism, understanding not to be a horrible person, refining your mind, but above all is warfare. Don't ever let that change. It is ridiculous to say samurai is not about warfare. It is. Right, I hope this doesn't cause any trouble, guys. I hope you're all alright out there in the land of the interweb, and I'll be up in a few days with a new video.